Today, I'm going to try to draw this little lane in Shrewsbury, England, and this was maybe the most fun I've had with a drawing in a long time. There were multiple points that just felt so seamless and carefree, and maybe some of that is due to feeling just good about the outcome as I was going. But there was also, some flow state stuff happening, and it made this whole thing feel pretty enjoyable. So getting started, I chose to start with the cherry blossom tree right in the center. And that's just where I started my practice sketch beforehand. So I carried that process over to this one. I don't have a great reason why, but I found that by starting here, it did give me something loose to begin with, which allowed me to sort of ease my way into the surrounding elements. I went pretty vague with this, and I didn't fill in a bunch of contrast because I knew that everything around it would be pretty rigid and probably contrasty. By keeping it light and airy, I didn't make a mess of an area so small and far away. And plus, a bit of negative space here, I think, helps imply the delicate, organic shape that is the tree. From there, I move on to increasingly larger and more structured details like the small gate that you can't even really see in the video, and the front of this sliver of building to the right. I was cognizant of just how much I didn't want to build out the whole scene too early because, it was these smaller details that caught my attention. Obviously, I appreciated the broader view with the quaint foreground and the tower in the deep background, but I know all too well that this is the type of scene that I need to carefully craft and sort of disregard the idea that maybe the biggest blocks should come first. That does work for me sometimes, but usually not for something like this. Had I started with the building on the left with the little stoop, one, I think it would have taken me forever because of its relative size to everything else. But most importantly, two, it probably would have skewed my eye for that smaller stuff that I was drawn to. And I think I would have ended up heavily implying those small details rather than give them the attention I felt they deserved. Because I think my eye would have been focused on the significance of the stuff that's closest to me. And then as I moved back, I would have tried to imply that distance with vaguer and vaguer details. Real quick, if you're enjoying this process so far, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'd appreciate it. So one reason I feel like this was so enjoyable today is that this scene gave me plenty of things to focus on without forcing me to be as technically aware as I usually feel that I have to be. For instance, all of the things that exist at the end of this lane, so everything that's facing my direction, is far enough away for me to largely ignore the perspective. At this distance, the tree and the windows and the bushes, etc., are all just shapes and concepts for me to consider, and I can just focus on that completely. If those things were much closer to me, I'd need to contend with the proportions more carefully, and if they were at even a slight angle, especially close to me, perspective really comes into play. And that stuff, as exciting as it can obviously add a level of complexity that changes the whole dynamic. Another reason I think I found this so fun, if you need another example, is the improvising. There were a few times here that I just couldn't be bothered to observe and recalibrate. So instead, I just kept going and sort of inferred what would come next. Not for anything too crazy, but certain areas of the buildings were more imaginative than one-to-one copies. And like I've mentioned in the past, I find this exciting more than anything. It just adds an element of joy and fulfillment to this hobby. And so whenever I feel comfortable, which honestly isn't often, I find that I just throw things in here and there. Something that was not improvised, even though it looks it, is the tower. Unfortunately for me, someone who appreciates a good tower, this one did not come together the way I'd hoped. Why? I'm not sure. Maybe because I was in my own world, in that flow state. And when it came time to finally focus on something more concrete, I was unprepared. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like that part of the drawing at all. Other than that, though, I think this one turned out particularly good. I feel like my understanding of the scene really shows, and I appreciate the subtle personal touches as well. The line work was clean for the most part, and even though I omitted a huge chunk of the foreground, I don't really mind because it feels intentional, which it was. So yeah, I'd love to know what you think of this one. Let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to the channel to follow along. I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.